everyone, welcome back to Quilted Cactus. Okay, so in this video, this is part 2 of Candy, the latest pattern by Petal Designs. We are working on the small size with the flap. In part 1, we created the exterior of the bag and included adding the thumb lock for the flap. Let me go ahead. It's harder to use when it's, and this is what we created here in part 1. And then this part 2, we will do the lining and the zipper placket, and then the crossbody strap, which we have not done the crossbody strap yet. It's very simple. I'll just go over it really fast, and then I'll sew it up. It's really easy, and then we will get the bag completed, because once we get the lining done, basically it's just it's a drop-in lining, so it makes it really easy to complete. I'm kind of liking drop-in linings a little more and more every time I make them. So we'll get right to it. Again, this is part 2 Candy. We're going to do the lining. I'm going to set her aside. Okay, so with the lining, your first, and then also let's note that when you're doing the flap option, once you get the thumb lock closure installed, you're going to go back to the full size or the full pattern, and you're going to go to page, let me make sure I got on the right page here, page 21, and that will start with lining assembly. So I just want to make a note of that. All right, so when you're going to grab your recessed zipper pieces. Now, if you're doing the flap option, this is optional. You don't have to do that because you'll have the flap closure. However, I'm choosing to go ahead and do the recessed zipper for 2 reasons, because I like that extra closure on the bag, and also because we're doing the flap option, I wanted to go ahead and, you know, complete the recessed zipper closure in the tutorial. All right, and then I did mention when I went over the pieces, the recessed zipper, she calls for 4, let me make sure you can see all of them, 4 exterior pieces for the recessed zipper. You can, if you're worried about bulk, you can take 2 of these pieces and use your lining to make it a little less bulky for the recessed zipper. I know in her patterns, I think all of her patterns always have the recessed zippers, the top and the bottom, because I think she likes the way it looks, which I do myself, and I'm able to do that with this machine I have. So, but for domestic users and you're worried about bulk, you can always put the bottom part of it with the lining piece, okay? So the first thing that you're going to do on your recessed zipper, now she does have you interface your recessed zipper in the pattern, but I don't need to. I don't feel this is good enough vinyl that I don't really have to have a interfaced recessed zipper. But if you're using a lighter vinyl, then definitely I would interface it. Okay, so first of all, you're going to grab your zipper, and this is what I chose for my zipper, this real pretty blue to go with the blue in my bag. And I figured with the raspberry, I thought maybe we'd just go ahead and keep with that look, you know, of the alternating type of alternating look on the bag itself. Okay, so when you're going to do your zipper, she does of course give you measurements of the zipper. I think my zipper is a little longer than what she calls for, but that's only because I had this was one full piece that I had left, and instead of just going ahead and cutting what I needed off of this and then cutting it down, I'm just going to make it extra long and then cut it down to the size that I want once the bag is finished, rather than having 2 little tiny pieces, because I might be able to use the tail end of this zipper in another project. Okay. So make sure, if you're using tape by the yard, you just seen me, make sure you singe the ends. That helps keep the zipper from fraying. Okay, so with your zipper, your zipper tape, what you're going to do is you're going to take and mark 1 inch down from one of the ends of your zipper tape. Let me get my, there we go. I dropped my chalk pencil right before I was checking my bobbin and making sure I had enough bobbin, and I dropped my chalk pencil down in the base of my sewing machine where the oil pan is, and got oil on my chalk pencil. Okay, that's so hard to get off. Also, I also wanted to lower the camera. I had it raised up for the beginning of this to show you to do the bag. So get me a chance here to get this lowered. Everything back in position. There we go. So you can see my surface. Okay. So what I just did, I didn't show you, I apologize, is I just laid my rulers. This is a 1 inch ruler, and then just went ahead and marked 1 inch down at each side. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I made the tiniest little, they're really, really light, hard to see probably on camera. Made little lines on the sides. I think you can, right there, on each side of your zipper. Again, it's just one end that you're doing this to. And then it's just your basic, you're gonna pinch it and fold it out at the 90 degree. So go ahead and pull your zipper apart. At this point also, I do not add my zipper pull. Personally, that is the very last thing I do when I make a bag, is put my zipper pull on. I won't even, I will test it once I put the zipper placket together, but as far as actually installing the zipper, that's the very last thing that I do. Okay, so what you're going to do is where you have that little mark is you're going to go ahead, you're going to fold it down and pinch, grab hold of it and pinch it, and then you're going to go out at a 90 degree angle like that. There's the back side of it. So you're going to see how it goes out like a 90. Let me put a pin in it, and then I'll show you what, whoops, and I'll just let go of it. So give me a second here. Let me bring it back down again. Clipped it at 90. Let me get a stick pin. I need my ones that are a little bent because I sew over them. And then you're going to just pin it like that. See how that goes out at a 90 degree? And that's what you want to do to the other side. Pinch it down, push it out. And then what you want to do when you do this, make sure that these stay even. Let me get me another pen here. I'll get this pinned up and I'll show you. There you go. So when you hold them together, you want to make sure that these are even, because if these are not even, when you zip your bag closed, it'll look really funny, and you don't want that not to look right. So that's the back side of what it looks like, and there's the front side. And then I'm holding it together, and you can see that they're pretty straight. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you're going to tack down these ends. You're just going to go and sew right on the very edge, inside, well, I should say inside the seam allowance. You're going to go and sew. Let me get me a maybe I'll use this, the awl. Excuse me. You're going to sew right inside, right here, right inside that seam allowance along this edge here. And what you're doing is you're tacking this down. So you've got that angle, and that's where your zipper is going to stop at when you close your bag. So just go ahead and baste it down. Okay, I'm turned on. There we go. Well, I think I reset. Hold on, let me. Oh, sorry about that. I had to. For some reason, sometimes it doesn't kick on right away. There we go. Just make sure your zipper stays lined up. I usually go backspace on it just to give that extra. I don't know. I usually don't just do it once. I just go down and then back up is all I do. Okay. And then I'm going to do that to the other side. Now I'm leaving my, pardon me, I am leaving my pins in. I have these very, very fine pins that I like. It doesn't, I can go over them and not hit a needle. I very rarely have hit a needle on these pens. So I can leave these in, but I don't recommend it. I'm not going to tell you to do that, even if you have fine pens. I'm just saying, because if you see that I have pens in there, that's why I do it. Excuse me. Pardon me for just one quick second. Sorry, I've been battling allergies all week, and I'm about done with it. Okay, so see how I've got them stitched on each side here, just outside, just inside, I should say, the seam allowances, and then that little the little tails off to the side. I'm going to clip those straight. Let me do it this way. So they're clipped straight like that. So it's a nice straight edge. Making sure that they didn't, yeah, that one's pulled up a little bit. When I clipped it a little too close. So let me see here if that makes a difference in the way it looks. I'm going to take my, then I'm going to take the letter, since we clipped on our zipper. Then I'm going to hit it with the lighter, but I need to fix this. I snipped a little too close to my stitches, and it's coming undone. So let me do a quick little, well, extra stitch here. Trying to get this, there we go. It still came loose. All right, let's see if we caught it. Let me check and make sure it looks even with the other side. It should be all right. Okay, sorry about that. I clipped it too close, or I sewed it too close to the edge, and when I straightened up my thing, I clipped into my stitch, and this started coming loose. And as you can see, it's already starting to unravel. So I need to hit that with the lighter and get that to stop fraying. And then once I get it sewn into my zipper placket, then it'll be fine. There we go. Okay, so there's your zipper. It should not look that bad on the side. It looks like it's been chewed, but that shouldn't look like that. But again, I clipped it too close. Okay, so we're going to take that. You're going to set that aside, and then you're going to take 2 of your pieces, and again, all 4 of these pieces are the exact same. So you're going to take 2 of your pieces, you're going to put them right sides together, short ends right sides together, and clip it. She does her zippers a little different than others, which I do like the way she does these. I've seen them done where it's all one piece and then you fold it over. Lavender and Twine does that. That's an interesting way of doing it. I like it as well. But this is a nice way of doing it also. And then they've got the traditional way where you fold them down and all that kind of fun stuff. All right, so you got the short edges clipped together, right sides together, and then you're going to, did it to both, and then you're going to sew this at the seam allowance that she gives on that short edge. Make sure I'm at a good stitch length, yeah. And let me get the other piece in here. There we go. All right. So you've got both pieces are stitched on the short edges, just on one side only, okay? And then what you're going to do is you're going to open this up, and then let's open them both up. And then you're going to go in and draw lines on each end that are the ends that are not sewn, at a line that she gives you, the measurement that she gives you, on all 4 short ends that are open. I guess open, unsewn. Let me get a regular pen so we can see this stitch or this line, because we're not going to need it to be hidden. Let's see, this ruler one. Okay. Make sure I count the right line, and this ruler's got lines really close together. It's a neat, nice little 1-inch ruler, but it, I don't know. Okay, sorry. I'm rambling again. All right. Okay. So I've got lines on each end, all 4 ends. I've got marks there that she gives you on the measurements. And then you're going to get your double-sided tape, and you're going to place double-sided tape on all 4 of those ends where you just made those marks. You're going to put the tape right at the very end. On all 4. Okay. Try to keep up with my pattern. I'm looking at my pattern as I go along with this to make sure we try to stay with the pattern, and I can make sure we're not deviating. Because sometimes I tend to just go and do my thing, and then I look back at the pattern, I'm like, oops, they did it a little different than I did. Okay, so I got double-sided tape on each end of the pieces, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fold. I'm going to lay one aside. I'm not going to take it apart just yet, or take the tape off just yet, because I don't want it to come undone while I'm sewing on this piece. So I'm just going to take one. I'm going to remove the tape off of one of the ends. This is like a felt back, and I tell you what, that double-sided tape backing does not want to come off. All right, so you're going to take that backing off, and then you're going to fold it to the line. There we go. See, I folded it to the line. You can see where the line's at. If I do it this way, you can probably see the line. And then you're going to open this back up, open your seams up, and then you're going to take your get your zipper tape, and then what I'm going to do is instead of clipping my zipper down on the whole thing, I am going to put some double-sided tape down on one end side of my zipper placket. That'll help hold the zipper. To me, it helps hold the zipper still better. And then, because when I fold this over it, it will it won't be so slippery, because it'll already be stuck to one side, and then I can fold this over and it hold it still. Especially with this smooth vinyl, this is it will slip. So I'm going to put some double-sided tape down on one side, the right side of my placket. I'm going to place just the double-sided tape down, and I'm actually going to do it to both sides. I'm going to only use one side right now, but I'm going to go ahead. No, I lied. I need to do that on the other piece. I apologize. I'm trying to think ahead, and I shouldn't be. All right, so double-sided tape on one side. Again, this is just to help hold the zipper tape still when I fold it over and clip it. I'm not going to put anything on this side, just this side. So you're going to take your zipper tape, right side down, and you're going to place it on your top of your zipper placket. So make sure you remember to remove your backing. And then you're going to take it right sides down. You're going to butt the zipper teeth up against where that seam is. So you're going to take your zipper teeth, push it up there, and then place your zipper tape down. You may have to work with your zipper tape, because sometimes it wants to curl, especially if it's been in a roll for quite a while. Sometimes that zipper tape will want to have a wave to it. All right, so I've got it tacked down, and it's even with that. You will have leftovers hanging out, but that's what you want. You can see here's the front where I've got the teeth right up against where the seam is at. Let me hold it down so you can see. Okay, and then what you're going to do then is you're going to take the other side of this and just fold it right on top of it. And this is where I'm going to go ahead and use my clips. Again, see how if I didn't have that tape there, to me, the tape would move. I mean, I could clip it and then fold it over, take the clips out and reclip it. I mean, which is fine. That's not a problem. You know, that's nothing wrong with that. It's just, to me, it's easier this way. Okay. And then on the other side, because you're folding this down on top, you're going to go ahead then and remove the double-sided tape backing off the other side of the piece of vinyl, and then you're going to fold it up to the line. But when you do that, what you're going to do is you're going to watch. Let me get my piece up here. You're going to watch. I'm going to flip it so you can see. You're going to watch this, make sure that it evens out with the other side. So your zipper panel is equal or level with each other. So I'm going to go ahead and place it down, and then I'm going to look to make sure these are the same. Just in case, like if it shifts, or if you sewed, you sewed this end here a little off or whatnot, when you put your other piece down, you just kind of eyeball it to make sure, even though you've got that line there as a guide, you still want to make sure it lines up on that end. I'm going to go ahead and put another clip in there to hold it still at the end. And then you're going to stitch this down at the seam allowance that she gives you. You're going to stitch, obviously, on the side where the zipper's at, the zipper tape is at. So you're going to go stitch straight down. You're going to go, you're going to start your stitching right below the seam. If you want to start right at the seam, or maybe one like just above that seam, but you don't need to sew on this seam at all. You want to start down here and then go down and stitch that at the seam allowance that she gives you. Let me make sure my placket is not level or even on this side, so let me just kind of make sure. There we go. I just wanted to make sure it looked good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get my threads out of the way because I've been having them bunching up. There we go. And then make sure I am at the right starting spot. Okay. And then we're going to just go tack it. And just go ahead and sew. Just make sure. I mean, you can use your zipper foot with this. I mean, I would advise it. I just have problems with my zipper foot on this machine, so I don't use it. I just push it. I just push it as far as I can to get that zipper seam allowance that is needed. Make sure when you get to the end, you don't go over into the zipper because it will be visible if you do. So go right to the end. See how I didn't go over both sides? I was really careful to make sure you don't go over onto the zipper, because if you do, it will be visible in your zipper placket. Okay, and then you're going to go ahead and clean up your threads. Now, she does also tell you to cut this seam allowance for this right here in half. So I'm going to snip this in half like that. Okay, let me get this out of the way. Whoop. And then you're going to, to remove bulk, I am going to do a little snip here like that. You can see I'm just going to do a little corner snip like that, just to blunt those corners. And then I'm going to turn it out like this. And then when you grab your zipper to pull it out, make sure you don't grab it like that. Make sure when you grab it, make sure you grab it on the other side of the teeth so you're not accidentally pulling your zipper apart. I was turning one out and I was grabbing it, and I accidentally did like half. It was like half zipped, and I had to go in, put my zipper pull on, zip it up, and then because when you sew the other side on and it's all flopsy like that, you want to make sure that this stays even until you get it all together. All right, so I got it turned inside out. Make sure this looks nice, so I'm going to get my turning tool and poke it out a little bit to make sure that that looks nice. If I can get a hold of my turning tool. There we go. I'm just going to take it and then just kind of push up in there just to make sure that comes out and looks nice and flush, especially because there is like a lot of bulk there, because that's where the zipper and the teeth, and then you got that fold over from your vinyl. Now, if you do use your interfacing, if you do use your lining on the other side of this to cut out bulk, I would still expect, if you use cotton, I would definitely still interface the cotton. I mean, it probably goes without saying, but you want to make sure that that cotton is interfaced. My zipper is causing a lot of bulk. I need to push down on this a little bit. There we go. I just had to flatten that out a little bit. And you can roll it out a little bit at your seam where it meets the zipper. Just kind of pull it tight, just not real tight. Where your zipper, it's pulling your zipper. I'm just going to flatten this because this is vinyl on both sides, and since I can't iron it, I want to make sure my vinyl looks good. So you got it out like this, and then you're going to top stitch all around the edge, all 4 complete rectangle around this. I'm sorry guys, I have to keep clearing my throat. I apologize for that. All right, so I'm going to go to my top stitch length, which I am, and when I do the top stitch on this, I always start on the raw edge because that's going to be hidden inside your bag. So because I'll just back stitch, so I always start my top stitching on my zipper pockets on that raw edge. All right, let's go ahead and get this put together, and you're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Let me get these strings out of the way. Just be careful when you get to the top where your zipper goes out into that placket, that you're not like landing right on the tooth or anything. One more. Okay. So there's one side of your zipper pocket there. So you're going to repeat the exact same thing with the other piece that we just did. You just got to do it to the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and prepare this piece here. Just make sure when you lay it down that you're doing it on the opposite. So and usually sometimes what I do is when I lay it down, I'll pretend like I'm opening up to make sure I've got it on the right side. Because sometimes you get going and you don't realize that you might be putting it on the wrong side. So just pay close attention that when you put this piece on here like this, it's going to be on the opposite, and you're going to you can do this to make sure you're doing it on the right side. So again, I'm just going to repeat the exact same action, and then once I get this put together, I will be right back. Just a quick note that I realized when I was putting this on, you do want to separate your zipper once you get it placed on here, and get the one side down before you fold this piece over to put this together. You do want to separate it a little bit, because what's going to happen is this is going to be in your way. See how it's in the way before you try to set this down. So you just want to separate a little bit. If you are worried you're going to accidentally completely separate the zipper panel and you don't want to do that, you can always put it like what I call a little stay stitch here at the very end, especially if you have your zipper a little longer than needed, because then you would just cut that little piece off at the end to keep it together. I will separate my zipper panel from my zipper will be completely separated once I get this all completed, because that's just I like to have my panels completely separated when I sew them to my lining. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do just what I just did. Like that, get that little corner cleaned up, and then do the same thing. I'll go ahead and top stitch. So I just wanted to mention that real quick while I was thinking about it. And then I'm going to get it top stitch, and then I'll come right back. Extra little thread here. Clean that up. All right, so that's my zipper placket here. So what I'm going to do, I need to find the centers of my zipper placket on the sides, but I need to make sure this is together to do it, because I want it to make sure it's accurate. Plus, again, I mentioned that I like to zip it up to make sure my placket's going to be straight. Because I'll have to fidget with it if it's not straight. So I'm going to put my zipper on real quick. I think I can see that it needs to go probably, please don't hit the floor, probably a tooth or two off when I zip it shut. So give me just a second. Let me just make some adjustments. Let's see. I think it's more that this thing is sticking out more. All right, so it looks good there. I thought maybe it's going to be off a little bit. So I got my zipper on, my zipper pull on, so it's all straight. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this in half, clip these ends so I can keep it straight. And then I'm just going to go up to the thing. I'm just going to mark my centers. Again, just snip it inside your seam allowances, because you need your centers of this when you install it to your lining. So you just got your little pieces there. I'm going to show you here like that. So I've got my centers marked. Now you don't need to separate it at this time. You can do that little what I mentioned, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to separate it because I like my zipper panel separated, and I can attach it together later and it'll be okay. All right, zipper panel is completed. Now we're going to move on directly to the lining. This shouldn't take very long, the lining itself. You're going to grab your slip pocket pieces. There's 2 of them. As I mentioned, I'm using cork. I'm experimenting, so let's experiment together. I'm going to take this. We're going to clip it wrong sides together. And this is a nice little slip pocket. It doesn't have the trim at the top. It's got that nice little curve. And then I like the way she attaches it to the bag. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to stitch the top and the bottom. Do not stitch the sides. You got to leave the sides open, only the top and the bottom. At the seam allowance that she gives, I am going to do a quick little mark so I know in my curve where my seam allowance is, because when I go to do the curve, sometimes I worry that I don't know where to pivot. Well, I should know where to pivot, but anyway, to be more accurate in the little pivot point of this pocket here, because it's got that little bit of a curvature there. All right, it's just for me, like I said, it's just to help me out in my seam allowance. All right, get some of this stuff out of the way. All right, and we're going to go ahead and get this sewn on. And I got my seam allowance back down to a 4. Make sure you do keep that at a 4 or a smaller one when you sew this, because when you turn it inside out, you don't want your stitches to show. Kind of work it around, just keeping your, again, if you're not comfortable doing the curves with that, you can always mark it like I did. I just put a couple key points in there. All right. So there's my, I stitched the top there, okay, with the little curve, and now I'm just going to stitch just the bottom. Again, at the same seam allowance. Okay. And then what you're going to do, now she doesn't, let's see, she tells you to, okay, what she tells you to do is make a few notches around this to help when you fold it, the lay better. But if you have a pair of pinking shears, I would just go ahead and just trim it with the pinking shears. As far as how much, I would only go about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch in. Don't go too far in, because of course you don't want to lose your stitching. So just a little bit of pinking shears trim there. That's all the trimming you do. You do not trim at the bottom. And then you're going to just pull it in right side out. So grab hold of it, put your hand in there and grab hold of it, and you're going to go through the tube. I'm going to do it this way. The good thing about using this cork is that it's very soft. So it's really such a soft cork that that was easy. Really, really easy to turn. All right. So you've got that curved pocket. You want to get your turning tool again. And then just kind of smooth out where that pocket is, that curve is, just to kind of bring your curve out. And then if you need to, because since I'm using cork, I can't iron it, I'm just going to throw a couple clips in there to help it. I think this will turn out nice. It's a nice, I like it because it's different, and it is a nice firm pocket. I like nice firm pockets. I don't like floppy pockets. If I have a bag that calls for a floppy pocket, I'll throw a snap in there. Just get one of my little spring snaps and just to stabilize it in case, you know, people don't like it either. And you can always, you know, always have to snap it, but just clip it with these little guys. So I'm just kind of straightening it out, making sure, because like I said, well, this is cork. I mean, it's not as easy as cotton, but I mean, you can do it. This particular cork, everything else I have is from Tulipbee, but this particular cork, I actually got it from Sally Tomato. So if anybody happens to be curious about this, just this little floral cork, this is from Sally Tomato. This little real cute cork. I don't know if she still has it or not. I've had it for a little bit. And this is like scraps left over that I'm using for this pocket. All right, so I'm going to top stitch the top only. Do not top stitch the bottom. You're only going to top stitch the top, the curved part of the pocket. Let me get my stitch length increased. Get this, grab hold of that, and then give it a good stitch. Well, not a good stitch, but you know what I mean. You can back stitch because that side stitch will be hidden. So I'm going to back stitch at the beginning and the end. I need to bring that out just a little more. There we go. I need to make sure that that sticks out a little better. looks cute. Who's to say you can't use cork as an interior pocket? Not me. So there you go. So there's my slip pocket. That's done. Again, you're not going to stitch the bottom yet. When you stitch it to the lining, that's when you sew the bottom of the pocket. All right, let me get that piece out of the way. So then what you're going to do is you're going to grab one of your, let's get it here. It is, yes, your center piece. It's the center piece here. Your center lining piece. Let's make sure I clarify. Grab your center lining piece. All right. And then you're gonna with the there's going to be one side that's slightly longer than the other, so you want to pay close attention to your piece, and you want the shorter of the the shorter side is the top of your bag. So if you want, when you cut it out, you can always put, like, sometimes I didn't do it with this one, either keep your piece with it or put a little T so you know what's the top of the piece, especially when they are very close in size. It's almost a square, but not quite a square. So you're going to take this piece. She gives you some measurements to place your lining down. And I'm going to tell you it's in 1/16 of an inch. Yeah, so this particular ruler does have 1/16 inch. So when I did my other one, the other ruler I had didn't. So you will want, if you've got a 1/16 inch ruler, it's got the little 16ths marked, then you'll want that for this part, or you can always just place it, of course, in between 2/8. So let me do the count here. Or if you're good with fractions, you might be able to convert it better, but yeah, I'm just making sure I counted right. So I'm going to take that, mark it there, place my pocket, and you're just going to line it up to the edge. You're going to match your edge to your edge there at your mark, and then clip it. If I can get my clip there without moving it, there we go. So just keep it straight like that. I'll show you here in 2 seconds. So you want to make sure your pocket is even with that. Stitch it like that, and then make sure, just double check the side, make sure you are accurate when you place this side down. So we'll place that one down as well, making sure, and then I'm going to clip it down. And then you're going to baste your pocket to this piece. You're going to baste your pocket to the sides, but you're going to actually sew it to the lining. So you're going to go all 4 sides down. You're going to go down this side, bottom, and back up. But make sure when you do the sides here, you're at a basting stitch, the 1/8 inch stitch. Do not go any further, because that will be shown in your pocket, because this will be hidden by your side pocket piece. Okay, let me get some of this getting crowded again. So I'm going to go ahead, start on one side and go down. The bottom 2, I do believe, yeah, you're going to stitch the bottom at a basting stitch as well when you attach the pocket, but most all pockets are attached that way anyway. So I'm going to tack that. There we go. Went off a little bit. There we go. Make sure you back stitch, especially where that corner is. Alrighty, moving right along. All right, so there my pocket. It's sewn to the center lining piece like that. Nice, cute little pocket. It's a nice, firm pocket. I really like it, and it adds a little bit of something to the inside. Okay, now you're going to grab 2 of your side pieces. So you've got your 2 side pieces where you remember you cut 2 sets of mirrored images. You're going to grab one set each of the mirror images, okay? Let's take these other two pieces, put them back. So we make sure, again, you have mirror images, two pieces, but mirror images. You're going to take the one piece like this, where you got the little dog leg here. You're going to attach that to the one side, making sure, let me do it this way so you can see. Making sure that when you sew it to this piece, that little dog leg is being sewn to the center piece. That is going to be your, where you box your corners. So you make sure that little dog leg gets sewn to that. Just take it, right sides together, clip it up, and then stitch it on at the seam allowance that she gives you on this piece here. Let me double check it, make sure, okay. Making sure it wasn't any different than the rest. But like I said, she's really good in her pattern. She always gives the seam allowances. I like that. But sometimes I forget. I'm going to back stitch over this pocket beginning and end just to get that extra security. Especially since I got a real stiff, heavy pocket. All right. So the one side is stitched on. See how you got that one side there? It's stitched on. So then you're going to open it up like that, and then give it a finger press. If you can't iron it, you can't press it with an iron, give it a nice finger press, and then you're going to top stitch. But where this top stitch is going to be on this piece here, on the little side piece. So you're going to top stitch there. There we go. And it just opens up your seam and makes it nice and flat. Just make sure you got it nice and pulled tight, but not so tight you're making it misshapen on your lining. Okay. This thread looks really good with this lining too. I need to go get the name of this lining. I'll get the color that I'm using. I'll make sure it's in the description, but I'll go get it before we finish this bag, so I can tell you as well in the video. But there you go, on that side, and then you're going to do the exact same thing to the other side. All right, this is one side of my lining is done. There's my little slip pocket, and then my sides are attached. They're both top stitch. Set that aside. Now we're going to do our zipper pocket. So I'm going to grab my all three of my zipper pocket pieces. So first pieces that you're going to grab is the zipper pocket lower part. Okay, I've got mine all clipped together, so I'm going to grab my lower part out of here, my zipper pocket lower part. I'm just going to set these right off to the side here. And then I'm going to grab my zipper piece from my inside. I'm actually just using a different color on the inside. It's actually at hardware too. I'm using silver for the exterior, but I'm going to use this antique gold on the inside because I have a lot of white zipper tape and antique gold, so I'll use a different color on the inside. All right, sometimes I do that just to help clear out some stuff, and depending on zipper pulls and whatnot, I'll grab something different. All right, let me go ahead and yeah, that's terrible looking. There we go. Let me get these all cleared up here. There we go. All right, and then what you're going to do is you are going to take your zipper, place your zipper right side down. I'm going to go ahead and put double-sided tape at the top of my pocket. Now the top of the lower part of your pocket, I need to make sure I have it the right position. zipper pocket lower part, it goes this way. Okay, I just want to make sure it is the let me see here, I think it's the longest side. Yes, on the zipper pocket lower part, the longest edge is the edge that you're going to attach your zipper to. So make sure your longest edge is at the top, the shorter edge is at the bottom. I'm going to put some double-sided tape down on the lining so I can attach my zipper and it not slide with this poly bonded nylon. It is very slippery, but I love it. All right, I'm going to place my zipper tape right side down. Now I do not have my zipper pull on yet. I will do that once I get to a certain point that my zipper pull is on. So in the video and the pattern, she does already have the zipper pull on. If you're comfortable doing it that way, fine. I just like to do it at the end because I hate that little hump that the zipper pull does when you try to install a zipper. I always feel like it makes my zipper look funny. So, and yes, I have done it multiple times where I forget to add a zipper after I get it all sewn on, and I have actually had to go in and add a zipper pull after I've sewn it all, like when you do the regular way with the zipper overlay and everything. Yeah, I have had to, I untack the very end, stick the zipper pull on, and then resew it down because I won't redo the whole thing. Okay, so what you're going to do then is you are going to put the seam allowance that she gives. That's an unusual seam allowance. Let me get my ruler I just had. I think it is, yeah, that's okay. So place the zipper tape right sides together, sew using a seam allowance. 1, 2, 3. Well, that says 3/6. Whoops, I said it out loud. Sorry. No. You're going to baste it on, basically. So she gives you a seam allowance in here, but I am going to go a little bit different. I'm just going to use the basting stitch seam allowance because you're going to sew another piece to it anyways. Well, actually, this is the bottom part. Yeah, you're going to sew another piece onto it anyways. So you will increase your seam. You will increase it to the normal seam allowance when you before it's finished. So this, you're just going to basically base it on there, but she does give you a seam allowance to use, so you can use that. All right, so then you got your zipper stitched right sides down to the piece there, and then you're going to grab the inner part, which is the longest of the 3 pieces. So you're going to take this, the inner part of the pocket, place it right side down on top of the zipper where the zipper is wrong side up. You're going to place this right side down over top of it. So you're going to make what they call like a little zipper sandwich. So I'm going to place this down. I'm going to throw a little tape down just to hold it still. And I'll show you here what I'm talking about as soon as I get this done. So you're going to take it, and you're going to make sure the longer edge is down. You'll see here in 2 seconds, and you'll understand why here in just a minute. So, see, this is the inner part of the pocket. This is the lower part of the pocket, and then my zipper is right sides down to the lower part of the pocket, and it is wrong side to right side of the inner part of the pocket. I know I probably explained that too much, but I just wanted to make sure that you understand, because again, this is a little different than your typical pocket. what that most everybody uses in patterns, I should say. Okay, the most used pocket. Okay, so then you're going to go at the increased seam allowance here. Let me decrease my stitch length here. I just got to go a little slower when I do this since I'm not using a zipper foot. I have to go a little slower when I do this to make sure my thing doesn't fall off my teeth. All right. Now, once you do that, you're going to take your piece, open it up, give it a little crease there on this, just crease it back, and then fold it like this. So these are going to end up being wrong sides together like this. So you'll have this piece like that. You got your longer piece. Your teeth are face up on the shorter part of the piece. So just kind of give it, if you don't, just give it a nice little finger press, or you can get your little roller out and roll it down a little bit to help flatten it up. And then you're going to top stitch along the top. You're going to top stitch along here. So just give it a good press, stretch it, pull it. I'm going to pull as I sew. So you're going to top stitch that piece here. I'm going to grab this and give it a little pull. Just be careful when you tug on this, especially with the zipper. Because if you pull too much, then you're going to have it, it's going to look wavy. Also, make sure when you do this, when you do the top stitch, make sure these two pieces line up together. So I'm going to give a top stitch here. And then just going to kind of go a little slow because I got to pull and make sure my lining stays down, as well as not make my pull it too tight in one spot where my zipper looks wavy. Alright. I think when I did this, when I made the big version, the big sister I'm going to call it, because when you piece this stuff together, and sometimes if your seam allowance is off just a little bit, when you match it to the other side of the lining, sometimes you might be a little off. I think I was just the tiniest bit off. So let's hope we are that way the same again. Okay, so then what you're gonna do is after you top stitch it like that, so it looks like this now, you've got your pieces like that, and then you're gonna take this part here, the long part, let's go ahead and flip it first. Let's flip it to where you see the back side of the zipper tape, and then the right side of the inner part. You're going to take this piece here, you're going to fold it up to the top of your zipper tape like this. So your zipper tape is going to be completely behind this piece. You're not going to see like your zipper, because this is actually your pocket right here. So you're going to go ahead and put that up there. I'm going to use tape. I'm sorry. I'm going to use I'm getting my double-sided tape back out again. I just want to make sure it doesn't start slipping around. Okay. So I'm going to get this off. Okay. Yes, I do go through a lot of double-sided tape. Thank goodness Wax gives you discounts when you order in lots of, I think, 3 or more. I'm telling you, they do really good. And I think it's 3 or more. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but if you order it like in lots of 3 or more, you get it starts discounting it down. And I buy at least 3 at a time of my 1/8 inch tape when I buy it. I don't know how often I buy it. Sometimes, of course, depending on how many bags I make, I buy it more often than not. But yeah, I always definitely buy more. Go through that. Okay, so see how you've got it there? And then you've still got your front piece of your pocket, or this is your front of your lining here. There's your zipper pocket, and then you're going to baste this back piece on to the top of your zipper. Now, you can bypass basting it on. If you've got like tape on there, you can always just go ahead and attach the second piece and not baste it, but we'll go ahead. I'm going to show you basting because again, that's in the pattern and you may not be familiar with this and not be comfortable doing it. Okay, so that is basted on now. So there's my pocket. Again, I still have not attached my zipper pull yet. All right, now we're going to grab the zipper pocket upper part. And well, this pocket's not going to come apart. Let me put it to you that way. Between all the tape and the thread, it should not fall apart, right? You'd think. All right. So I'm putting a little bit of zipper tape at the top of my zipper. And you're going to take this and you're going to put it face down, right sides together with the zipper teeth. Make sure you line it up with your pocket front panel here, which is actually your part of your lining. Like that. So you see how that is? There's your pocket here. There's your front of your lining. And then you want to take that and then you're going to sew this piece on like this at the seam allowance that she gives. Make sure it's still the same. Okay. Now, I have to go back a little bit. It went off my side. Like I said, since I don't use a zipper foot, sometimes it falls off if I go too fast. So I'll slow down just a little bit, because what happens is when I get out of that, that's what's going to make my pocket, my lining on this side is going to be funny. Oh, come on, man. I usually don't have this problem. I'm usually pretty good about staying on the teeth. There we go. All right. And then you're going to do the exact same thing as you did on the other. I think I went. That's okay. And then you're going to take it, fold it up, top stitch it at the top here. Once you get that done, let me give it, there we go. I tell you, with all the blue, my white zipper tape looks blue. It's like a... All right. Clean up some threads here. Make sure everything looks good. All right, so see, it's top stitch there at the top. We got a top stitch there. Got my zipper pocket, and this is my, so this is the center panel of the lining. Now I'm going to install my zipper pull, because this is where you don't want to forget, because when you attach your sides, then it's too late and you have to undo your side, and you don't want to do that. Again, I've done it multiple times and you don't want to do that. All right, so let me grab my zipper pull, get that installed, and then I'm going to clean up these edges too of my leftover zipper. I like to do a little extra on my zipper tape to have that little overage. Alrighty, zipper pull installed. I'm going to real quick just tack by the zipper, because I'm going to trim it down by the zipper, level up my zipper. And I'm just doing this for my security, because when I trim this off, I don't want to lose my zipper tape or anything. This is not in the pattern, this is just a little extra. Okay. Now I'm going to clean up my zipper tape, straighten it up and even with my lining. And then make sure if you do this step, clean it up, make sure you put a lighter to the ends of your zipper. I got threads I need to clean up too, or else they're going to poke through, and I don't like that. There we go. I need to invest in different lighters. I bought these. These are kind of cheap lighters. I bought them at the, well, it's called the Dollar Tree, but it's, I call it the $1.25 store. Because everything's $1.25 now. It's not $1 anymore. And these, as you can tell, they're not great. This lighter I just opened not long ago. So these aren't the greatest lighters. But I grabbed a couple when I was there the last couple weeks ago to make sure I didn't run out. Okay, now we're going to grab, let me get these pattern pieces put aside. I am grabbing my other 2 side pieces here, and we're going to do the exact same thing to the zipper pocket, like this, and then like this, just like we did to the slip pocket. So I'm going to go ahead and do this since we've already done it. I'm going to go ahead and get this done. We'll fast forward through all of this, and I will be back when I have my pieces sewn on. Alrighty, so well, we got our side sewn to our zipper pocket lining. Now, if you notice that one side is a little bit short, or this, I should say, this is a little bit longer than this. I'm going to trust this to be the accurate because I cut this from the pattern piece. I'm going to say that this is truly longer than it should be because we had to piece several pieces together. And there, again, there could be a seam allowance that's, you know, a little off up here when I was doing all this sewing. This one looks a little better. So it's probably crooked up here somewhere at the top, but it's not visible. I mean, you can't tell. So all I'm going to do is I am just going to take the ruler, lay it down across from this point to this point, and then just clean that edge up. Get my ruler and my cutter right here. And it's, I mean, it's going to be a little flopsy at the top, but my ruler, I think, this is in my more wider, this is a wider ruler, but I think I should be okay. Yeah, we're good. I was worried about it was going to, my zipper pull is going to be in the way. So we're going to line it up, make sure it's even. Again, this just ensures that your lining is accurate. Make sure everything's straight. And I'm just going to trim off that little piece there. See, that's all I just trimmed off, which wasn't much. All right, and then there is my zipper. That's it. That's all the pieces that you have for your lining. So now what you're going to do is you want to find the centers of both of your pieces of lining. This is so cute. Look at that. I love it. Okay. So let's get our centers of our lining, both pieces. We're trying to keep moving right along. Trying really hard not to make this too long. I know, again, I know I make mine a little longer than most. Everybody has their own style, and I love everybody's different style. I love watching different tutorials, all the different ways videos, tutorials are done. I watch them all, trust me. Okay, so my centers are found on the top. I forgot to do the bottom. Let me do the bottom. It doesn't show in here, but let me do the bottom just in case. I don't think I need them, but that little tiny snip is not going to hurt it. And I'd rather have it before I start putting pieces together. And that way I'm not trying to struggle when it's a big ginormous mess. I'm trying to find centers. Okay, now what you're going to do then is you're going to grab your contrast lining pieces. And these are the ones, but this contrast lining, it is got a slight angle to it, so make sure that when you sew it on, you got the wider piece is at the top, the more narrow piece is the bottom. You want to find the centers of that, top and bottom for sure, because you'll need the top for when you line it up with your bag and you drop it in, and you need the bottom to line it up with your lining piece when you sew it to your lining. And you just do the tiniest little snips. It doesn't have to be anything major. Some people just do a slit, because Siah does that. It's harder for me to do the slit. I prefer this tiny little snip versus this little slit. Some people just mark it with the marking pen. Some people eyeball. Okay, get that out of the way. So I'm going to take one of my linings. So I'm going to start with my pocket lining. So I'm grabbing my pocket lining. I'm grabbing my, make sure I say the piece right, contrast lining piece. Center's marked on all the pieces. And then I'm going to grab a zipper placket. Now, what you want to do when you do your zipper placket, especially if it's separated like this, you want to lay it down, because this is going to be the front. I want my slip pocket to be the part that's like on my body. So I want to make sure it opens this way when I unzip it. That's my preference when I make bags. So I'm going to grab the piece. When I put the pieces together like this, I want the piece to where it starts, the zipper ends on this side. And you're going to lay your zipper placket piece right side up, because this is going to go up like this, okay? So when you lay it down, you can put them together like this to make sure you're accurate in your piece. Let me look at this again. I'm thinking I need to, let's see. So this is my placket. I probably shouldn't have separated it just yet, but I'm just that way. So I'm taking my placket. This is my bag. I am actually wanting this piece first. Yes, I want this piece first, because when I just said, when it's rested against my body, I want to be able to open it up like this. Since obviously I'm right-handed. I know there are left-handed people out there. But if it was a custom bag for a left-hander, I would change it around. But in fact that most of the population is right-handed, that's kind of how I go with it. So I'm going to take the piece where it unzips this away. I'm going to lay my recessed zipper piece, center it, right again, right side up. Do not do it right. Do not put it down. Do not do right sides together. Do right side up, wrong side to right side. I think I've said it so many times I've probably confused you. I will show you. I'm gonna put a clip just in the center just to hold it. And I'm gonna show you real quick. So again, this is right side up. So when we sew this on, it'll go up like this. Okay? Where this is the underneath here. This is what goes down into the bag. And this is what you'll see at the top. All right, I'm just holding it there. And then you're gonna take your, again, you take your contrast lining, making sure that this piece, the widest part, the angle where it goes out, this is the top. So you're going to put it wrong side to the wrong side of your lining. Okay, center that up. And then you're going to clip this whole entire piece together. Just go out. I usually will work from one side and then go back to the other side. Just keep going. And your piece should match. It goes over just a little bit on one side. Again, it's probably seam allowances. You could too make sure your pieces match, like lay them together to make sure they are equal, to make sure one's not bigger than the other. And they're almost matching. Okay, so they're not really that, they're like a smidgen, not even barely a smidgen off. Okay, so you're going to match that out, and then you're going to go ahead and stitch this all together at the seam allowance given. Again, you're stitching your contrast lining, your zipper placket, and your lining. You're putting it all together and stitching it together. And the reason why we go from the centers out, just in case this lining piece, contrast lining piece is a hair bigger, which mine is a little bigger, I will have to trim a little bit off the side. You've got that. And then just be careful, because when you get, of course, to your zipper placket, you've got some bulk. And I am grabbing my little, I've got a little piece, scrap piece of vinyl here. It hit the floor, so give me a second to grab it. I'm just going to use, some people use like a hump jumper or whatnot. I just grab a little piece of vinyl here that I've got. Stick it underneath my, behind my presser foot. Because when you go over this zipper placket, it is a bit of a jump because you've got those layers. And that just helps your machine ease over that piece. So just go on down. And then when you get to the other side, just be careful when it goes down off of there, because sometimes it'll, there we go. All right. Clean up. And then you're going to take this piece and fold it up, and then you're going to give it a press up. You want your seam allowance to go up toward the top line, the contrast lining piece, like that, upwards. You're going to fold that up, give it a, just give it a crease, because you got your vinyl and it's going to be a little hard. And then you're going to also take your, I lied to you, you want your, I'm sorry, you want your seam allowance to go down to the lining. My apologies. There's another designer that does it opposite. So I had my designers confused. My apologies to the designer of this bag. I got confused for just a quick second. So you're going to fold your contrast lining piece up, your zipper placket up, and your seam allowance will be down to the lining. And then you're going to top stitch along here on the lining piece. And that kind of gives that finished edge. It holds your placket and everything up out of the way. Just be careful when you get to that piece, that little bump there on the road. Just, there you go, ease it on. All right, I do have a little bit of overage on one side, so I'm going to grab my piece, make sure I have my angle correct when I trim this down. I'm going to take my zipper tail and clip it inward to my placket on my, like this, on my placket. It gets it out of the way, because when I start sewing the lining together, I don't want to accidentally sew it into the lining. But I'm going to, right now, I'm going to measure this and mark this off, so I can, when I trim this off, it's got the correct angle, because I want to make sure I keep that correct angle of my piece, because it's over a little bit, and I'm sure it's because of my seam allowances, but it still looks good. I don't, there we go. And like I said, I want to keep that angle. All right. So there is your one lining is complete. One side of your lining is complete. We're going to do the exact same thing to the other side of the lining. No changes. So I'm going to put the piece down again, right side up, hold it on the placket, throw this down, making sure the angle when you fold this contrast lining up, that the widest part of the angle is at the top. So we're going to go ahead and get this sewn on, and then I will be right back. All right, We are cleaned up, everything's straight, everything's even. My tails are clipped inward so they don't get in the way. Guess what we're ready to do? Sew our lining together. So we're gonna put them right sides together. Matching up your seams here. These should be matched up first. If I don't drop all my clips on the floor first, I'm gonna need to grab a handful of clips. So then I will match those up, and then I will go ahead and clip on the other side to hold that, and then clip down. And everything should theoretically match up. I'm going to clip all these sides first, then I'm going to clip the bottom. Remember, this is a drop-in, so we do not need to leave anything open on this bag. So I'm going to clip sides, then I'm going to clip the bottom. Keep dropping the clippies. And everything's matching up, so that's nice. If you're off just a smidgen, you can always kind of work it to get matched up, because sometimes when it's just that little bit, it'll work itself in when you sew it. There we go. These clips out of the way. All right, so we're going to take it. We're going to take this and we're going to sew both sides and the bottom first. So this is what we're going to do at the seam allowance that she gives you. All right, so we're going to go do with all this, and then once I get all of these sides sewn, we'll stop, and then we'll do a quick little thing on showing you the box, the corner. So we'll do that. Let me get a clip here because this wants to separate. I need an extra clip to hold it shut till I get the needle in it. All right, so I'll be back once I have both sides and the bottom sewn on this bag. Okay, we're back. Sorry, I had to put it on a pause for a quick minute. Ran out of bobbin thread. I checked my bobbin thread before I started sewing. Thought I had enough, and I didn't. So anyways, so once I've got my side sewn here and then my bottom, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim my seam allowance down. Basically, you're just going to trim it down in a half from the bottom up. Now, when you get to the side here, I will trim right up to this, and then I'm going to veer off. I'm pointing on my side. I'm going to veer off here, but I will clip that corner just to get some of that bulk. I'll just do like a little angle. Just, whoops, clip the bulk like that. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Get to that and just do a little angle cut. Get that out of the way. Same thing for the bottom. And that's just remove some of the bulk, so when your lining sets in there, you don't have all of those extra seams pushing, all that extra in there pushing up against the thing. All right, so now that you got this, let me clean up my threads. All right, so now we're going to box the corners. Now, typically, you would open up your seams to box your corners. Since this is not really thick, it's not a lot of bulk, I'm just going to turn my corners opposites, like nesting, like in quilting. So you're just going to grab hold of the corners here like this and just match up your seams. And I'm just going to, like I said, I'm just going to go from one side to the other, nest my seams like that. I'm going to clip it in the center first. I really don't need that many clips because this is a very small boxed corner, but I'm going to clip it in the center. I'm going to clip it off to the side a little bit, just so it's off to the side, and then I'm not going to clip anything on this side because it would just be in the way. I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. And this is, again, this is very tight, not as tight as her big sister, but get that clipped. and then clip off to the side so it just holds it still for me. Oops, that clip's just broke. There we go. Okay, so there's my corners, they're boxed, so I'm going to stitch those closed. Just kind of got to work with your material there and just push it down, just trying to keep it as straight as you possibly can. Sometimes they like to get all wonky, but you just kind of got to work with it and hold it as straight as you can. Whoa! Sometimes I just don't know my foot, well, my foot strength, I guess. I don't know what you call it. Just, and I'm going to trim that seam allowance as well. Let's do the other side. And then I'm going to show you a real quick, just a quick briefing on how to do the strap. We're going to do the strap real quick before we put this together. In her pattern, she does have you do all the straps first. Since we did not do the, I didn't go straight to the edge. Let me make sure. Let me go back on this a little bit. She has you do all the straps first in the pattern. But since we were doing the flap option and I went straight to the flap pattern tutorial, I just didn't do the strap first because we went, again, we just, like I say, we just started straight with the flap the flap part of the pattern, if that makes sense. All right. Clip that a little bit. Again, we're just trimming the seams in half. All right, so there is my lining. This is such an adorable little bag. I'm not going to lie. Okay, I love the size of this bag. So I'm going to set this aside right now, and then I'm going to grab the strap. Now, my strap, you have the option on your strap. I think I mentioned it in the beginning. You can do webbing or you can do vinyl. I did webbing with the big sister, and I'm doing vinyl with the little sister. So anyways, so my strap, she gives you the measurements of how long the strap should be, and this is one full piece. If you cut it right on your vinyl, you can get one full piece. And then what you're going to do is you're going to draw a center line, and then you're going to put double-sided tape on it. I prefer to do double-sided tape on the sides, each side, and I use the 1/8 inch double-sided tape. Again, I'm just going to show you real quick how to do this, and then I'm going to sew it up. And I'm doing this in case you don't know, if you've not seen it before. So you're going to remove the double-sided tape off of one side of the long, I should say, well, I showed it to you, the long edge. So fold it up to, but not over the line, center line that you drew. You're going to keep that center line visible. You want just the smallest little gap between your two pieces, because you're going to fold it in on itself, and you want that space for the to cover that slack when it comes together. So you're just going to go down the line, and you're going to go all the way to the very end of your strap with your one side. Then you're going to remove the other piece. I'm just going to say, we're just doing this real fast, and then I'll finish it up. So then you're going to remove the other side. You're going to go up to, fold it to the center line. Again, right up to, but not past the center line, where you see a little gap. I like to have that center line to be a little darker, so you can see that there's a little bit of a gap there. So you're going to go again, you're going to take this and go all the way down both sides to both sides are all folded in like this. Once you do that, then you're going to take your piece and you're going to fold it together like that. And then you're going to clip it to where your strap looks like this. Okay? And then once you get it all completely done, you're going to top stitch this all the way around, both sides, and you're going to start with the opened end first. Don't ever start with this folded edge first. It will totally mess this end up. You always start here on the open end, sew it at 1/8 of an inch at your top stitch length that I use the 5. Go all the way around until it's completely stitched. I'm going to do that real quick, get this done, and then once I get my strap done, I'll be right back. I'm going to pause it, and then I'm going to come back once it's finished. Okay, we're back. We've got the strap completed. Okay, and then I'm going to show you real fast how to do the strap slider. It's just real quick. I'm not going to do any rivets or anything right now. I'm just going to show you how to put it on. So you're going to take your piece here, and then you're going to slide it through one side of your slider, then go over the bar and back down like that, and then you're going to attach it here. Now you have the option of sewing it or just riveting it. I just rivet them. I don't, rivets hold just fine. If it's a wider strap, like the 1.5 inch, I will do 2 rivets, but this is just a 3/4 inch finished strap. I'll just put 1 rivet right here. That's plenty. It's a small bag, so it doesn't need the extra, you know, hold like having 2 rivets. Make sure, especially if you're using a vinyl, make sure you get an extra wide slider when you use a vinyl. Okay, so once you got your slider on and you got that affixed, this is going to be the top of your strap here. So you want to take one of your swivel hooks, take it to the other end, make sure the swivel hook, the hook part is on the outside of the strap like that. Just follow along the line there. And then you're going to take the other end of your strap, like here. It's really hard to show, but and then you're going to take it and feed it up through the other side. You got your side here that's where it's folded in. You're going to take this, push that up through here, then go back and feed it back down again like that. Making sure, again, your swivel, there's a swivel hook, is on the exterior. And then you're going to take the other end, the other swivel hook on the other end, and you're going to take it, put it on, and then fold it over, and then rivet, sew, however you attach it like that. That is your swivel. That is your, I shouldn't say your swivel. That is your crossbody strap like that. And then, like I say, when you got the extra wide, it slides a little easier. Using vinyl, sometimes it does stick, so you just kind of got to work with it. But there is your strap like that. And we'll show that. I'll just clip it on once I finish it. We'll clip it on and show you, but we don't need to I just wanted to do a quick tutorial. All right, now grab your lining. One thing we needed to do real quick before I set the line aside, which is not a bad thing. It's something we're going to have to do anyways, but you're going to need to put double-sided tape at the top of your lining. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Just go ahead. I'm using a 1/4 inch because I need to make sure this sticks down well when I fold it down. So I'm using 1/4 inch on here. Fold that down like that. Let me get to the other side. I will go edge to edge, even though my seams will be open. I'll go edge to edge because that helps hold that seam open better. And then when I open the seam, I'll put another little tiny strip when the seam is open, and I'll show you here in just a second. So I'm going to put that aside, and then we're going to go ahead and fold these down just like we did on the main bag. So I'm going to take one side off. Okay, one side off like that, and then you're going to take your lining, the top of your lining, and you're going to fold it down over the stabilizer. So what you're going to do is the stabilizer as your guide. You're going to fold it down over that stabilizer. And if you don't use stabilizer in this piece, she gives you a measurement that it should be folded over at, but you really should have stabilizer on this piece here because it helps hold your top of your lining up. All right, so I'm opening and your seam allowance should be open. That helps alleviate bulk when you sew your lining to your bag. So I'm opening it up. I'm going to throw another piece of double-sided tape there. So when I fold it down, it stays. And then get that folded. Just kind of work with the bag. It's tiny, but you can get it worked with here. There we go. And I'm just going to go all the way around. There you go. So there's my finished edge. It's all the way around. And my seams are open. It doesn't look open here. I trimmed it down a little bit. So when I folded this over, it's not as much bulk. But again, if it gets too bulky, you can always push. You can use pliers. You can use, well, right now I'm using scissor handles to kind of push that seam a little bit. That helps distribute some of that seam like that. It just helps with that seam so it's not so big and bulky. All right, so let's get her opened up. Boom. Making sure, I knew this would flop back up, so I'm going to fix this here real quick. Get this down, make sure all of my threads are not sticking out. All right, I'm going to get another piece of tape because this is not wanting to stay down and I need it to stay down. And I need it to make sure it goes in like it's supposed to cover that raw edge. There we go. I just got to get some reinforcement because that raw edge needs to make sure it's covered. So you just kind of, when you do this, make sure you can obviously be the judge of the piece to make sure everything looks good. Like that. I'm going to hold that there with a clip so it doesn't come undone again. I need that to stay looking good. Cover that back down. I'm just holding this with a clip, fixing everything that we did already to make sure it's still, that it looks good. There we go. So it's got it all nice and fixed. My little edges are nice and clean again. I found my washer, by the way. It was actually stuck to the back of my iPad, the magnet on the back of my iPad. Must have been, my iPad was sitting on my cutting table. And when I picked up my iPad last night to be done, it was there. I mean, who knew? But yeah, so I needed to push this prong down a little more. I tried to do the prongs with my hands. Let me throw some tape over the prong. I forgot to cover my prong up. And I never got my name tag on here. All right. So we've got our our bag nice and folded in, ready to go. Our lining is folded in, ready to go. And you're going to go in and you're going to insert your lining into your main bag. And then what you're going to do is you're going to match up your side seam with your center of your strap holder connector. Yep. You think I know what they're called. So you're just going to go and just match up the centers. I'm going to clip on both sides of that to hold it in place because it's really thick there. And then I've got my pliers. I went and got my little pliers. And they're just flat. The one side is missing. It fell off. This is so what I usually do is I just put like a piece of fabric or something. Just grab either a piece of vinyl, piece of fabric, whatever's close at hand. And I'm going to cover that piece up so it doesn't tear my vinyl. Actually, I'm just going to lay it on my vinyl when I do it. Well, I'm going to put it on my vinyl and I'm just going to squeeze this spot here because it's really, really thick. And again, that's just dispersing some of that weight. So I'm just making it a little easier for my machine to get to it. But when I get to that spot, when I top stitch, it will, I will still use like that extra piece of vinyl that I have to make sure when it goes over that it doesn't skip. Do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to do that this way. Just squeeze it the best I can. Okay. Center it out, get it clipped. Making sure your lines, you are lining your, this is level, or not level, this is even. Wow, I can't talk. Keeping that seam straight. Now, since I sew, another clip bites the dust, and this one is right where I squeeze it, so I can't even squeeze it off. Keep in mind that I am sewing on a flatbed, so what I'm gonna have to do on my flatbed, I think, let me see how well I can do this. If I can sew on a more narrow bag, I can't do it like this, like on some of the bags when the it's wider. I either have to trust my bobbin thread that the tension is good to make the exterior of my piece with my bobbin thread. And if anybody does a lot of sewing, you know that the bobbin thread sometimes can be a little not the tension, maybe just a little off, and it messes up just a tad bit. But I am confident my bobbin thread will be okay. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm just going around the bag, I'm going to clip it, and you can put as many clips as you want. Make sure your zipper gusset goes down in here. Sometimes if you just like, I've got some Scotch tape, it doesn't hold really great, but it holds it okay, if that makes sense. You want to make sure that zipper gusset or the zipper placket stays down so that it's not in your way when you sew, because you can accidentally sew your zipper gusset, or actually it's what it is, it's your zipper can get caught when you top stitch, and you want to be careful about that. I don't know if this is going to hold really well. It keeps wanting to come up, so I'll just have to be real mindful of my zipper placket when I sew. All right, I'm just going around clipping, and I don't need the big guys, the big guns in the clips world. These are sufficient to clip around. I don't need anything heavy duty. And this fits, like this lining fits absolutely beautifully in this bag. I mean, it is nice, it's tight, it's not baggy, saggy, droopy. I mean, and all those kinds of words. It's really nice. I just need to work this in here. All righty, let me get all this out of the way, this out of the way. There we are. She is ready for her final steps. Get all my good stuff out of the way here. Remember, I'm going to keep my little piece here. I dropped it of vinyl. I got it right here. I'm ready for when I get to these edges here, so it'll go over smoothly and not skip. Again, please keep in mind to keep that out of the way, so when you sew it, it's not done. You also got to watch your flap as well, so you'll have some bulkage when you do your flap, so just be careful of that. Obviously, if you have a cylinder arm, that would be beautiful, because you could just go whoop and you'd be done. Well, not quite that fast, but you know what I mean. But we don't have that. We are going to work with what we got, which we are happy with what we got. Trust me on that. I always, when I top stitch, I always start in the middle of the back of the bag. All right. Now what we're going to do is, because, let's see, how does she have you do the threads? I think she has you pull the threads through. No. Yeah. Okay. I'm just checking to see if she's got you doing, yeah, the threads. So you're going to start with your threads long, because what you're going to do is you're not going to back stitch, because that'll show, especially since I'm using a contrasting thread. So you're going to pull your threads long, and then what you're going to do is you're going to tie a knot and then stick that knot down inside the seams of the bag. So I'm going to give me some long threads here, and make sure they're nice and long. Don't don't have to worry too much about the threads not being long. I'm going to get my bag laid down. This is going to be difficult a little bit. You just got to work with it. I'm going to push things out of the way. Give it a tilt. Just keep an eye out and make sure your pieces stay together. That's the big thing when you do a drop-in lining. I think that's why a lot of people worry about drop-ins. But just keep an eye out and just go slow, really, honestly. All right. Am I keeping my threads long? I am not back stitching. I am concerned, however, how am I going to do this? Let me work with this a second here. This is not going to work. Okay. The flap's in the way. I'm not going to lie. My flap's in the way. So I'm struggling a little bit. Because when I lay my, let's see, here we go. I think we got it. We got it. It just took me a minute. All right. 1/8 of an inch. Top stitch. Again, remember your threads are long. Grab your threads. Hold on to them, so your machine doesn't suck them in there, and then you end up with an ugly, snarly thread on the other side. And go start stitching at your top stitch length. Just please go slow, and you just kind of got to work around it. With the small bag, it does take it's a little more of sometimes a struggle, simply because you've got that small little opening. So you just kind of got to adjust as you go along. And then just rotate it. Like that. Don't be afraid to scrunch it and stuff. If you have to, when you get done, if you see a few wrinkles or whatnot, you can always take, you can use a blow dryer. It's probably safer to use a blow dryer, but my daughter has like them little heat gun things that she uses for her stuff, and I will use that sometimes. I'm just really careful when I do it. I'll just like throw a little heat on it and then take my hand and rub over it. Just go slow. Threads, make sure you pull them long, so because you're going to pull this through as well. So grab my threads, do my pull through here. Oh no, I just dropped my needle. I dropped my needle, guys, and I need that needle. That's the needle I use to put my threads back in my bag when I do this kind of there it is. I see it. Believe it or not. All right. So, what you're going to do, I'll show you how to do this. All right, so I got my threads. They're all pulled through. I have not knotted anything yet. So they're all pulled through. I'm going to trim my threads at the end. I'm going to trim them even so so they're all even when I put them through the needle. Yes, I'm going to get a little bit of a spit on there, slobber, whatever you call it, so I can put it through the eye of this needle. Ouch, I just stuck it in my finger. Anyways, you're going to try to get your threads. Now, of course, sometimes you can get all, but this is a larger eyed needle. It's not one of them teeny tiny little needles. I'm just going to work. I got 3 in, so let me just go back and get that 4th one in now. There we go. There we go. I want to show you how this is done. All right, so all of my threads are in. All right, I'm going to take this needle. I'm going to go in one of the holes that the threads came out of. I'm going to go actually in the center hole, because you got the threads. I'm going to go in the center hole where the threads are, and then I'm going to take the needle, push through that vinyl, but I'm going to come up through this, between this where the seams of the bag are. I'll show you here. I'm going to pull it up through there. See, I'm coming up in between these 2 pieces. Right here is where the needle's coming up through. I went through the center of with my threads, all 4 threads going through the center. I'm going to pull it up through there, pulling all of my threads up. You just kind of got to give it a workout to get it to come through. If I can get a hold of the needle, I need my handy dandy little pliers to pull the needle. There we go. I'm gonna pull the needle through, get all my threads, make sure all the threads come through. I'll show you here with the threads. Okay, so the threads are in the center, pulled out through the center. You can see the threads there. You can tell. See how the threads are like that? And then you're going to knot your thread. Let me put my needle over here. So then you're going to take your thread, tie it in a knot, tie a knot. So separate it out, tie a knot. I would do at least 2 knots like that. Make sure they're very tight so they go down inside between the 2 seams. That's why I'm only doing 2, because if you go too many, then it's going to start bulging out. So you can see your knot, it's down inside. You're going to re-thread your needle. I'm going to clean that up because there's a couple that are shorter than the other. Re-thread your needle. This string is like it's probably a little too long for the threads, but you can still get your threads down in there. If I cut the threads in my, I don't know if I don't know if it's in the tutorial that I put out there. I know I recorded a tutorial a couple of times, but I was trying to describe how to do this, and what happened was I accidentally cut my threads too short when I put the needle back down in between, and the knot did not, I couldn't put the threads back down there. I still was able to hide the knot, but there we go. So anyway, so then you're going to take this like that, and then you're going to take your needle, take it right back down through between the pieces, and then what you're going to do is you're going to work your needle. This is odd, but you're going to work your needle. I'm going to take it and put it inside of my zipper lining here. Work my needle down so it comes out between the lining of my zipper. This is going to hide your threads. Honestly, it will. I'm just going to work it through. You probably, let me do it a different way. I'm sorry, I'm going to do this a different way. It might be a little easier. So you're going to take your needle, bring it back through, but then what you're going to do is you're going to turn around and kind of just go back up a little bit, just down a little bit, pull it back up through. It is a little difficult, but this is to help get rid of some of your threads. So you've got a little bit of a tail, but you're hiding some of these threads. So you're going to pull it down, tighten it up a little bit, and then you're going to go ahead and snip the threads like that. And then I'm just going to do that a little bit, just kind of flatten it out. And then there's you can't see the knot the way I did that. Okay. She does give you, talk about how to do it in the tutorial. If that wasn't, if that was pretty bad, I apologize. I was going to try to take it down and put it through the lining, but typically your lining's open when you do that. And as I was thinking about it, I realized that that would not be a very good option, simply because my lining is sealed, and it wouldn't look right trying to pull the threads through. All right, now let me unclip my zipper, get that tail back out. I'm going to right quick show you where I put my tag. So she's finished except for the zipper. But anyway, so there's that. So I couldn't figure out where to put my right thing, because on my on the big sister, it's at the bottom in the back. But I was trying to think of a place to put it where where it's not like in the front of the bag, but I couldn't put it down here at the bottom. But look at that. I stuck it in the flap at the top, right there at the flap, where it's not in the front view, but it's there, and I was able to sew it on there. So I thought that was kind of, I don't know, I just thought it was kind of fun putting it there, because it was, like I say, it's a last minute thing. All right, let's go ahead and clean up our zipper. So this is the point here. You can use a zipper end, or you can just box it off and just use a piece of vinyl to do it. That is completely up to you how you want to close your zipper. Let me get my zipper pull back for this. Now I'm going to install my zipper pull. Give me 2 seconds here. And then once I get the zipper pull installed, then I'm going to trim my zipper tail off. Let me make sure. I don't think I got it on right. Give me 1 more second. I've just got to make sure it lines up. I'm sorry about that. Well, normally I don't have this trouble putting a zipper pull on. There we go. I normally am not having this difficult to get a zipper pull on. There we go. You zip it up, make sure everything still looks good. Yes, it does. So there's my zipper pull. I personally like my zipper to end where when I unzip it like this, I give it an unzip, and I like it to where when I open the bag, the zipper does not impede me getting in the bag. So I like my zipper to stop right about there. So when I open the bag, I'm in there. Especially since this is such a small opening, I definitely want that little extra. That's why I always take my zippers off, do this last, because I like to see where it sits. So I know I want it to sit there. I'm just going to put a clip here so I know where to trim it, and then I'm going to zip it back up. Get my zipper scissors and give it a trim. You can, like I said, you can clean that up, end it the way you want, a zipper with a zipper end or a little square thing. I'm going to grab a zipper end and put it on this bag, but I'm going to do this first. I'll do that later. All right, I'm going to tuck that in. I'm going to close it up. I'm going to attach my crossbody strap, and then we are going to get a full view of this adorable little candy bag, little sister. Let me get my camera. Oh, guys, I am stiff. I've sat so long. I'm trying really hard to get this done. Usually I do these in a couple sittings, but I did the lining all in one. The lining and the finishing and everything. Part 2 is all in one sitting. All right, and it's late at night. There you go. Here is Candy, little sister. I love it. And then let's do a look on the inside. So there's the flap. Lift it up. You've got your zipper closure. I like this with the zipper closure. Again, you don't, this is optional when you do the flap, but I do like that. And then you got your zipper closure there. Let me get that out, unzip it. And then you got your zipper pocket here. Your cute little pocket. I think there it is. I've just got to get my fingers. So there's your zipper pocket there. You got your slip pocket. I love that little pop of color in there. That looks really cute. And then look at that lining. That is a beautiful fitted lining. That's what they call form fitted lining. Sorry, I just came up with that. All right, now my strap is getting caught on my sewing machine. So there you go. So let's zip it back up. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you liked how I did it. If you found this tutorial and you're not a subscriber, I would greatly appreciate it if you become a subscriber. It would help my channel. Also, if you like this tutorial, you like this video, give me a like, a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. I just thanks so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate all your time, you sitting with me. Also, there's a link to purchase this pattern if you've not bought it yet. In my tutorial, both of them, either one, I'm going to put the link in there to buy this pattern. And if you click on that link and buy the pattern through that link, that helps me out. That gets me a couple bucks to help me. I want to make another candy, and I'll show it when I get done with it. But I want to do another candy, small option, because the other small option does have the, I'll show you the big one as well. Well, actually, I showed you the big one since you already compared them. But I'm going to tell you here in 2 seconds. But the other one, the other option, small option without the flap, has the slip pocket in the front. It's just like this, just the zipper, but it has the slip pocket in the front for the other small option. I want to make one of those, and I think I'm going to do a tutorial on it. It'll just be on the exterior part because it's just everything's going to be the same. But I will do a tutorial just on the exterior part without the flap, just like this one, but the small option. So anyways, so there they are. I love these bags. I love both of them. They are absolutely beautiful bags. So my next one's going to be solid. I want to make it all solid. I'll throw that in there. Don't know what yet I'm going to make it out of. I just know I want it to be solid. I just have to go through my vinyl collection and pick it out. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone, have a great day. And I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. Bye.